Hello and welcome to this edition of You Can Get There From Here. I'm Dr. Joe Moore, Chair of the Department of Communication and Digital Media Production at the University of Central Missouri, and it's my pleasure every week to get to visit with some of our graduates. I talk to those who are alumni from digital media production, others from communication studies, and still more from our master's program. Today, I have a very special guest, Kaitlin Brothers. Kaitlin, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Kaitlin was involved in all kinds of things when she was a digital media production student here at the university. She was an emphasis in journalism and also in digital cinema. She was involved in the Muleskinner. She did a little bit with video production. I believe she even did some audio work, some stuff with our television studio here in CTV, all those kinds of classes. Did I miss anything, Kaitlin?
I was involved in the 48-hour film club as
Okay.
well.
So the Media Creators Association, which is what we call it now. When you were here, it was the Filmmakers and Actors Coalition. I had to think
Makers and
about that for a
actors.
minute. So,
Yes.
so yeah,
Yes.
you did a little bit of everything. I always bragged
Yes.
about you that you were that perfect DMP student that, we wanted you to do a little bit of everything because you had to have all of those skills, right?
Yeah. It really honestly helped a lot. And I look back and I sometimes wish I did more, which sounds crazy.
I'm not sure how you could have fit any more into the day. So tell
Yeah.
us about what you're doing today. Take us on your journey from when you graduated to what you're doing now.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, because I know we have potential students that could be listening. My journey and some people's journeys out of college are kind of rough. Mine was pretty honestly kind of rough for the first couple of years after college because I had an internship when I was a senior. I had an internship in Kansas City at a company called Warehouse One it was like a marketing assistant, and we did some video production work. They wanted to hire me on when I graduated, so I went there. But I was only working there. It wasn't even 1 year. I ended up having to leave pretty quickly, and it was my choice. It's just the job just really honestly didn't work out. But I got some great experience with video production, SEO, and blogging for a company. So it was great to get some more marketing experience there. I moved on. I wanted to get closer to home temporarily. So I went to work at a hospital down at Osage Beach for what was more of a news writers because I had that journalism background. So that really helped to get that job. So I did some of their public relations news article things for the hospital. But since that was such a not a good fit for me, I only lasted there 4 months before I quickly had to leave. But it was still good experience. But I was in between jobs, not doing anything related to UCM or not UCM, to my career, for about probably 6 months or 5 months. I went and worked at my uncle's bar and grill while I figured out my life, and it was quite miserable. But I had a lot of self-reflection, and then I finally got a job as a reporter. So I went back to the news business here in Rolla, Missouri at Phelps County Focus. And being a reporter for 2 years was so fun. I finally felt like I was happy. It was a really awesome job. I was doing that news thing again, and I got to do some news videos as well as written news. And because of that, I had a great opportunity to apply as a social media coordinator here at Missouri University of Science and Technology. I already had some social media experience because of UCM. I did some social media at the Muleskinner, a little bit of social media at my first job. So that helped me get that job. And now, as of a month ago, about 3 weeks ago, I got a new role right here in the same department, but it's a marketing, it's called, sorry, you might have to cut this a little bit. What is my title? My new title is Strategic Communications Consultant for Missouri S&T. And so now it's kind of back to the news. I'm writing news articles for a specific portion of our college here at S&T, as well as doing some magazines that we publish and a little bit of web stuff and a bunch of email newsletters. And so I feel like it's kind of newsy mixed with marketing again. So it has been really fun. I'm sorry that was so long.
That is just fine. And I really appreciate that you were very vulnerable there to talk about the first two opportunities you had and how it wasn't a good fit. And that happens. Sometimes you take the career, you take that job, and you recognize pretty quickly, this wasn't for me. This wasn't what I wanted to do. But that you learned something from every one of those experiences. And then, you were mature enough to take that time, say, okay, I'm going to go work at the bar for a little bit and figure out who I am and what it is I want. And it sounds like it's worked out great for you. You talk about your new job. It's a new gig. Are you really enjoying it?
Yeah, it's learning a lot of different things. When I was social media coordinator, um, I wasn't used to only doing basically one thing because when you're a reporter at a small town newspaper, you're kind of wearing like 1,000 different hats, and I was so used to that, and I was like, wow, I get to only do one main thing here in S&T, and then I move up in this role, and it's still kind of the same thing where you have one specific job, but there's a couple different like aspects of it. So I'm now getting to learn a lot more about email newsletters and some of the magazine, like we actually have print materials, which I hadn't had a lot of experience with, like magazine style print materials. So it's learning all these new things while also like being comfortable because I have so much experience. And at the Muleskinner at UCM, we work with print publication for. We had a newspaper that it wasn't every week. When I was there, we had like special editions. So we printed sometimes. So it was still helpful to work with that. I don't know what they do anymore.
About the same thing. They print monthly every 6 weeks and then post things online. How did your
Yeah.
experience in the Mule Skinner with the Media Creators, or I guess what was the Filmmakers and Actors Coalition when you were here? How did having that variety of experience help you where you are today?
Yeah, it was definitely a mixture of the Muleskinner, the the filmmakers club, but also just the various classes and projects throughout like the digital media production. I'm trying to remember Dr. Von Schlimmer's classes. I think he was the documentary. He had like a documentary class. Stuff like that was really helpful. Even the class projects too. And so we had a wide variety, and then we could go off and do our own projects for whatever we wanted to do. It was helpful to you can check out cameras and audio equipment any time that you want for whatever you want. So that was really cool. So the variety of being involved and kind of opening my mind to things that I didn't think that I would like really helped my career and get to a really awesome happy spot. Because when I first got to UCM, I was like, okay, I'm focused on one thing. I'm only going to do like this specific video production. I'm not going to be a writer or whatever. Like I was just so focused on that. And then somebody introduced me to the Muleskinner, and they said you should try writing. Like we need a video person to help me. She was a reporter, Andrea. What was her name? Andrea something. Um, this was back in 2015.
I can
Andrea.
picture
So
her too, and I'm
yeah,
blanking on her last name. Way to put me on the spot, Caitlin.
sorry, Joe. She was like, okay, I want to be the reporter, but I just need someone to help me film and edit. And I was like, well, that's perfect. That's all I'm going to do is film and edit. But then she opened me up to actually writing, and I figured out that I liked being a writer, and then I had friends who were in the film club, and they were like, you should be involved in this film thing. And at first I was like, I have no idea what any of that like involves. I was scared. But then just hopping in and doing it and realizing that you might like things that you had no clue that you would even be interested in. It was so helpful. Otherwise I would not be here at all. Yeah.
Yeah, and I talk about that with our students a lot is don't let fear get in the way. Everybody's learning how to do this. That's very important. And so you're involved with the Mule Skinner. You're involved with the filmmakers and actors. You've got all of your classes. You said that you sometimes wish you had done even more. How did you find balance?
Yeah, that was kind of tough. Because when I said I wanted to go, when I think back, I wanted to do more because I didn't really touch KMOS enough, and I didn't touch the radio enough, and I should have just because it would have been extra experience. But I found balance by and I was really young back then, and this is something that is still taking years to like actually perfect time blocking and stuff like that, and actual like professional scheduling. So I just kind of did all of my film aspect stuff, or like video projects, mostly on the weekends because it involved other people and they were more available on the weekends. And then classwork wise, I think I did a lot during my lunchtime, and I'm trying to remember. Um, but then I don't know if I had ADHD, or if I still do, but I would have a hard time focusing on like, for example, like cranking out my news articles and stuff before I had to do my homework. It was really overwhelming. So I had to block a time for the news article side, and to actually like sit and focus for like 1 or 2 hours. I had video game music playing in the background that kind of distracted me a little bit, but it doesn't have words in it. And so that kind of like helped me focus. So I had to learn time blocking, actually scheduling when I needed to do something next week. I had to actually put it in my calendar. And it's still taking years to figure this out. And I think this year I've gotten a lot better. Like, okay, for this hour, tomorrow, I'm going to drop everything and only do this. And then after lunch, I'm going to drop everything and do this task for 2 hours. Otherwise, if I don't schedule that kind of like time by time or hour by hour, and some things take like a 3 hour block. Otherwise, I get unorganized and things do not get done. So it does take a lot of serious effort.
Listen, Kaitlin, I'm 54 years old. I've been doing this longer than you have, and I'm still working out
Yeah.
that. And I don't think for us, I don't think it's necessarily an ADHD sort of thing. It's creatives. Our minds are always running. Our minds are always going. We're always thinking of
Yes.
what's the next thing. And even though you make that list, you're like, oh, I want to work on this project over here, and drags you over to that thing. So trying to find
Yes.
that balance and coming up with strategies, that's, you continue to develop that, you continue to evolve that. So I'm glad you're continuing to work on that. What is a
And
typical, go ahead.
oh, oh, my bad. Before we go to the next one, for students who are listening, somebody inspiring when it comes to like the productivity aspect, to look up his books, Cal Newport. He's got great books, and like even a podcast about how to be like super productive, but not like in an overwhelming way. And I think he's got like templates on his website. So he really helped me throughout my professional career to make sure I get, because these deadlines, you know, if I don't do these, you get fired or in trouble versus like a bad grade. So I really had to look into people like him to get that like professional inspiration, I guess.
Cal Newport. We'll
Cal
remember that.
Newport, yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
remember that. What is a typical day like for you?
Um, so this job is new. It's a little bit different. My last job, it was a little more free form. I went on campus a lot and did all sorts of social media things. But now in this job, I moved up, so I have a little bit more to do. I had to make like daily and monthly to do tasks, and like really block out like pretty much every hour. So for me, now bear with me, this is a new role for me. I have a newsletter every month. So right now for each day, I have like 5 things that I have to put in that email newsletter. It's like, our top stories about the college, new hires and whatever. So all the content that goes into there, I'm working on that. And then the afternoon, I'm working on this website project because my dean wants to amp up our website. So, and then I still have some social media. So at the end of the day, I still have to go on our LinkedIn page, that the one that I run now, and make sure that the correct content is on there and responding to people. And throughout the day, I've got meetings set up to talk about different things like our magazine or a newsletter, or whatever it might be. So a lot of meetings, a lot of writing, a lot of and some interviews now. I have an interview tomorrow because I'm writing a story about one of our amazing students. He's in our college. He's in ROTC. So he does like 1,000 things, and so I have to interview about him and then write it. So there's so many different things, which goes back to why I have to like time block almost every hour of my day. But not to like be overwhelming. I really enjoy it.
My first job out of college, I did an internship out in Virginia, but my first job, I worked as a news bureau manager at Dickinson State University, a little university up in North Dakota. I loved that job for the same reason you're talking about. Is everything? It was a little bit different every day. You had a lot of different um, tasks to do, and there's always stories to tell on campuses, on university campuses. Why I love working at a university is everybody's got a story, everybody's got a journey, everybody's got an adventure. So, last personal question for you is: so, what are your long-term goals?
That I figured you would ask today. And the problem is I don't really know because I'm 28, so I'm still kind of like pretty young, and I don't know if I'll be married or whatever. Like I don't know if I'll be in Rolla, Missouri. I just hope that I still have a career at least similar to this, or if I'm still in this role, that would be great. I think in 5 years, I would like to say that I wrote and published a book because that's been a goal for a long time. It would be like a fantasy book. I'm really interested in like um, reading fantasy stories. Like I like nonfiction, but I don't want to write a nonfiction book. So in 5 years, I love to say that I wrote a book, even if I don't have it published. Um, so we'll see where that goes.
Outstanding. Well, I self-published a book a few years ago. Wasn't the same as having, somebody pick it up and publish it. I can tell you, it's it's really rewarding. Really, was a bucket list of mine. So sounds like that's something you're after too. So I
Yeah,
wish you the best of luck on that.
thank you.
Last question I have for everybody is advice. What advice would you give? You've already shared some, but what advice would you give to a current UCM student studying digital media? What advice or what would you tell to a student who's thinking about coming to UCM to study digital media?
Let me think a little bit. Sorry, I have to do some editing. For for someone who is thinking about coming to UCM versus Mizzou or somewhere else, because I think when I was in high school, I said I have to go to Mizzou. Their school for this stuff looks amazing. But I didn't get in, and honestly, that was a huge blessing that I ended up going to UCM. And I did see their campus and thought that they seemed really cool. I guess just you think Mizzou, you think, oh, I'm going to be even more successful. But I've been very successful coming out of UCM because you're able to do so much and you can do whatever you want. Like I think the guy on that panel the other day was saying how
Is that Justin?
Justin
Yeah, I should
he
have
was
mentioned
saying
that
how
Kaitlin was on a panel for one of my classes the other day.
yeah, so your classes. He was saying how places like Mizzou, until you're a junior or senior, you don't really get to actually be hands-on. But at UCM, freshman year, I was able to actually be hands-on and make videos for the Muleskinner right then and there, even if I wasn't like totally perfect. So I would say, don't be afraid if you don't think you can do it as a freshman. Just go hop into something anyway, or do an extra side project outside of class. Just gather up some friends or work with the Muleskinner or KMOS because even if you're a freshman, like they'll teach you the basics so you can get in and actually get hands on. You don't have to be afraid of like you're there to learn.
Yep.
So it go be hands on as much as you can because UCM allows you to do that. And for a current student, whatever year you might be, I'm trying to think of like specific advice. I guess it would probably be because of my experience. Don't be afraid to just try things that you think you won't like at all because I didn't think I would like writing news articles whatsoever. But turns out that was one of my huge career steps. As literally a news reporter, like I ended up becoming one.
And you're a good
So
writer.
thank you. Yes, it well because of them. Like they're at the time I was a different advisor, but they'll teach you because I had no clue what I was doing basically. But they'll teach you the basics even if you're not in like um, journalism classes yet. Like they'll still teach you and they'll edit your paper and say, here's what you should do next time. Like even if you're not a J student, just do things that you think, oh, I wouldn't like that because you're so young. You're basically a kid. Like you don't know what you'll like. Just keep trying different stuff. That's what I would say.
Well, Kaitlin, you have been successful. That's why I've started this podcast, and the title is "You Can Get There From Here." Is like you said, a lot of students think I have to go to a major institution, and that's not to disparage a Mizzou or a KU or someplace like that, but little UCM can help you get there. You're going to get the hands-on experience. You're going to get to have those personal relationships with your professors and your classmates, and there's going to be lots of activities you can get involved in right from the get-go. So Kaitlin, thanks so much for being on today. I'm proud of you. You have done some great stuff. I love watching your journey and seeing what you're up to and things like that. So thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Joe. It was really fun. Appreciate it.
I'm glad. And thanks all of you for tuning in today. Remember, you can catch every episode on our YouTube channel through the UCM Media Network. That's youtube.com/UCMMN. You can also listen on Spotify. Special thanks to Jake Mager, as always, for producing our theme music. Again, this is Dr. Joe Moore reminding you, you can get there from here. Have a great day.